Hi, I'm Dr. Suzette Glasner, clinical psychologist and associate professor of psychiatry at UCLA. Today, I want to talk about temporary alcohol abstinence challenges that are becoming increasingly popular, really all over the world. And even though we're right about at Halloween, I chose to talk about Sober October purposely this late in the month because I really want to convey to anyone who's thinking about changing their use of alcohol or any other substance to not think about it in black or white terms. It doesn't have to be even a full 30 days on which you're successful. It doesn't have to be from the 1st to the 30th or the 31st of October to be Sober October. All it really takes is an intention to make a change for better. And we're learning through scientific research on 30-day alcohol abstinence challenges that perfection is not really the goal, because we do see health benefits realized for people who commit to trying their best to make a change and who make some incremental changes, even if it isn't perfect. So that's sort of my bottom line message to you today is don't try to do it perfectly. If you do it perfectly, that's amazing and you'll have even better outcomes and results on the other side of it. But even if you do it halfway, something is better than nothing. And every day that you don't drink alcohol and every drop of alcohol that you save yourself and your body is going to do some good. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things that we've learned through research to substantiate what I'm claiming. And I'll start with the documented health benefits of alcohol abstinence 30-day challenges for people, regardless of whether or not they make it the full 30 days. Again, those who do make it the full 30 days generally have better and stronger and more reliable health benefits as a result, but that doesn't negate the health benefits of doing it part of the way. So here's what we've learned. People who engage in 30-day alcohol abstinence challenges, such as Sober October and Dry January, they report better concentration, better sleep. They also report weight loss. Also, when we measure some more objective indicators of health and wellness, we find that they do experience reductions in liver fat, reductions in blood glucose, and reductions in cholesterol. And that's not to mention, obviously, the financial savings, particularly for people who drink heavily and they go out and they drink heavily. That's another benefit that people really appreciate, seeing how much more money is in their bank account after a month abstinent from alcohol. Alcohol is expensive. And then, very importantly, over that period of time, whether a person has successfully reduced their alcohol use or whether they've successfully stopped, this whole process tends to build people's confidence in their ability to live life without alcohol or to control their drinking. And something we've learned about the predictors of who is most likely to be successful from a Dry January or a Sober October challenge is that the first thing that emerges pretty consistently is that people who have higher confidence in their ability to navigate tempting situations or situations where they're being offered alcohol and to refuse it or decline it politely, those are the people who tend to be more successful in breaking their older habits and patterns of alcohol use is the type of success that I'm referring to. So this sort of can fuel that even just by making such an attempt. If the attempt is successful, even part of the time, that's a way of building confidence in one's ability to manage life without drinking or manage one's alcohol use in a little bit more of an effective way, because we know that one of the hallmarks of a diagnosable alcohol use disorder is losing control over one's alcohol use. So if you can control your alcohol use successfully, then that means that you are more likely to go on in your future and successfully manage or reduce your use of alcohol to get to a place where you're comfortable with how much you're drinking. Now, I will add the caveat that the 30-day alcohol challenge may not be suitable and may not even be safe for somebody with a severe alcohol use disorder, because we know that alcohol withdrawal for somebody who has a physical dependence on alcohol and has been drinking heavy amounts of alcohol consistently, alcohol withdrawal can not only be dangerous, but it can be fatal in some cases. So if you're someone who, or you love someone or know someone who has been drinking heavy quantities of alcohol fairly consistently, consistently and who experiences some discomfort when they're not drinking alcohol or when they're coming down or off of the effects of alcohol, then that is someone who is not potentially a good candidate for doing something like Sober October, because of that abrupt change for the body from sort of a consistent dosage of alcohol running through it to having no alcohol can be dangerous, if not even fatal. So that's something that is very important to keep in mind. Somebody who is in that situation would need to be evaluated by a healthcare professional to see whether they need some kind of medically supervised detoxification process in order to safely discontinue their alcohol use. So Sober October and Dry January are really for people who are on the milder side of an alcohol-related problem, who feel like they're wanting to establish a better relationship with alcohol and a healthier relationship, and who are just noticing some impacts of it on their health and well-being and lifestyle that they just really don't like. That's different from somebody who really can't control their alcohol use and who is physiologically dependent on alcohol. So if you have any concerns or suspicions that that might be you or somebody you care about, that would be somebody who should be evaluated by a healthcare professional. I want to talk about a couple of the other factors that predict success with something like Dry January or Sober October. I think it ties a lot to this issue that I was just describing about severity of a person's problems with alcohol, because we find that people who reported fewer days on which they were drunk or intoxicated in the month prior to starting a Sober October tend to do better. So that signals that this group of individuals who do well either don't have a diagnosable alcohol use disorder to begin with, or they've already made some headway in effectively reducing their alcohol use and the frequency with which they're using alcohol to intoxication in the month prior to even initiating a Sober October challenge. And then finally, a really important predictor is that these individuals make use of supportive people in their network and in their lives. They also make use of apps that allow them to track their drinking. And I do have some links to apps in my newsletter as well that you could try. Try Dry is actually one of them. Websites and apps that help people to track their success and really leaning on other people for support are predictors of success. So if you're going to try this, don't do it all alone if you can avoid it, because having social support, and we know that to be true as a predictor of success and recovery for people who do have a diagnosable alcohol or other substance use disorder, that social support is a really important predictor of success in treatment. So I just want to give you a couple of tips for those of you who want to try this out. I've kind of provided some of them. One is that don't be all or nothing about it. It doesn't have to be the full 30 days. You can set that intention to stop drinking for 30 days or to cut back every single day, but don't give up if you don't reach that objective every day. Every single day is a new beginning and a new opportunity to make a change in your life. And this is a very challenging type of change to make when drinking becomes, or other substance use becomes, very habitual. It can take time and many repeated attempts to change it before you really see the kind of level of change that you were expecting and hoping for. So try not to be discouraged by that. The second one is, as I mentioned, to do it with a friend or a loved one. And even if you don't have somebody in your life who really wants to do this alcohol challenge in the same way that you do, even just sharing with somebody who is supportive that this is something that you're planning to try to do, so that you can share your successes with them, they can cheer you on, or you can share when you're having a bad day and they can say something supportive and caring to you, like, well, you did well yesterday, let's try again tomorrow. Anyone you can enlist to support you can only be helpful, particularly if you know that they're likely to talk to you in ways that are helpful and not critical and not judgmental. And you can always remind them about how important that is. And then another important pointer is to prepare for how you're going to handle it if and when somebody offers alcohol to you. I've spoken in an earlier episode about some of the reasons why sometimes people feel uncomfortable when they're the only ones drinking, or when they're drinking and they're around someone else who's not drinking. It makes them reflect on some of their own behavior, and they don't really want to do that. They just want to have fun. So people can get really pushy about alcohol because they don't really like to drink alone. And it's really important to be prepared for how you're going to assertively decline an offer of alcohol. And you can be polite about it, but you really kind of don't want to leave the door open to further offers of alcohol. I have my first book, the Addiction Recovery Skills Workbook. Even if you're not somebody who identifies themselves as having an addiction per se, there are some really good exercises in there on what to say and how to say it in order to very firmly, assertively, and politely decline an offer of alcohol. And that's a really important predictor of success with something like Sober October. And then finally, think about what triggers you to drink and plan accordingly. So some people get triggered by emotions. Some people get triggered by certain people. When they hang around those people, they feel tempted to drink. Some people are triggered by certain places. So you have to start thinking ahead of time about the people and places and things you're going to be surrounded with from day to day, and think about some of those people and places that you might want to avoid or limit your time with, or some of the things that you can do to replace alcohol use in those situations. Is it a mocktail you can order if you're in a social situation where alcohol is available and tempting? Is there something else that you can do at a time of day when you would normally unwind by having a drink? Could you exercise instead? Could you go for a walk? Could you plan some other type of activity? These are some of the things that we actually tend to do for individuals who are in treatment. We teach these types of skills when someone's in treatment for an alcohol use disorder, but maybe you don't actually need treatment. You just need a couple of skills and pointers to set you on your way. I hope that you learned something valuable, and that even if we get to October 31st or November 1st, you recognize that it is never too late to work on your health. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.